So Dee, am I right in saying that a lot of the problems that people face playing golf might have nothing to do with their swing technique and everything to do with whether physically they are suited to their swing?
Absolutely, Annie, absolutely. A lot of golfers think, oh my God, I'm no good at golf. Or someone says, oh, you've got a lovely swing, Deirdre, but it doesn't go anywhere. Because poor Deirdre or Frank, they're trying to be someone they're not. They're not using what is biomechanically sound for them. So everyone is uniquely different.
So what do you mean by biomechanically sound?
Okay, so if you look at it, everyone will have a different plane that they swing on.
Because of the
there's a screening that was, or there's a couple of gentlemen who did this course, who didn't do this course, who created a course called Bioswing Dynamics, which I happened to do several years ago. So what it actually says is they worked with, it's a gentleman called Mike Adams, so I didn't develop this, Mike Adams, E.A. Tischler, Terry Rolls, a whole lot of fantastic biomechanical people who are biomechanics, not just golf people.
Yeah.
And so they came up with this screening, and all the top golf pros in the, well, 90% of them have been screened by Mike Adams and the biomechanical people.
Right.
So that's why you look at someone like Jim Furyk, who we would say his swing is pretty ugly. Sorry, Jim. But his swing is biomechanically sound for him. He has some weird biomechanics. If you look at Sergio Garcia, and everyone goes, look how flat he comes here. He comes down much flatter because of the length of his forearm to his upper arm.
So what you're saying is that you should swing a certain way dependent on your height, the length of your arms, all that sort
where
of
your
stuff.
pivot point, where your right arm releases, how your right elbow wants to go. Like, remember, Jack Nicklaus had a flying right elbow. So, you know, there's about 15% of people that flying right elbow really helps.
So ideally you should be screened before you start getting lessons and before you start developing your swing to know how you should swing for your body shape, body type.
Absolutely, because I think it's really sad, Annie, that there are people out there who are working their heart out and they're doing everything they can, but they're not improving at the rate they should. And they go, oh damn, I'm just not good at golf. I'm not good at golf.
And get new clubs.
Yeah, and if they're fitted, that's probably a good idea. But it would just make golf easier if we did what is right. So what I would love to do today is to have you hit a few shots.
You're going to screen me.
And I'm going to screen you with there's some others, but I'm just going to do some basic screenings just to see what's actually happening. And before we even screen you, just by the way you're swinging, I'm going to play a little game and say, oh, Annie, this is where I think this was what your measurement should be according to the way you're swinging. Now, I would assume you're swinging pretty well according to your biomechanics because you've been a great player and you're still a good player. So I'm going to assume you're doing pretty well. Or maybe you could have even been better.
I knew that. I knew that was the problem.
You had the aim point, you didn't have that.
If I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have come second, I would have come first.
So let's just have you hit a few shots.
Yes.
And then I'm going to play a little game with you and say this is what I think your biomechanics will be, and then we'll measure and see if that is your biomechanics.
Alrighty.
Sounds like fun, doesn't it?
It does sound like fun.
And it makes golf much easier because you get better, quicker.
That's what we want.
Better, quicker, less effort.
That's what the ProGolfGals can offer.
And
better, quicker.
And another really important thing which I'm excited about, a client said to me today, Dennise, you're always saying so you won't hurt yourself. And I think that's very important, that the golf swing does not hurt you, because then you can't play golf. A golf swing should not hurt you.
Absolutely.
So, Annie.
Hurting, you're not going to last long.
No, you're not. No.
So you want me to hit, I've got an 8-iron.
Yeah, that's great.
This ball.
Yep, you hit that ball over the blue noodle that I've got set up down there.
Over the blue noodle.
Very nice, out of a bit of a thick rough. Beautiful. You should take golf up. You should. Can I say, before this woman came to me, she couldn't play.
So, do you want to hit another one?
Yes. So before you hit the other one, I'm going to say to you already, and I'll interfere with you here a little bit. I'm going to screen you, but it looks to me from that just one swing, I'd have people do more than one swing, that you pivot sort of centre to slightly right.
Okay.
So some people pivot like right-sided golfers who pivot on the left side, stack and tilt. Some people are very centred. Some people pivot over onto the right groin, and there's in between.
Like a bit like a sway? If I sway back a bit?
But if that suits you, then that's perfect. Right. But imagine if you're someone that this is what you should be doing and you're swaying, now you're in trouble.
Okay.
So we want
need to know what
you need to know. You need to know what's right for you.
And only someone like you, Dee, that's qualified to do a biomechanical screen will be able to tell you.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people, like I've done the course, but a lot of people could study up on this, and it isn't, you know, there's a lot in depth, but you don't need to, we don't need to know how everything goes, just what you need to do for you. Do you know what I mean? So we don't have to get too technical. We just, we don't need to know how the engine actually ticks, and we just need to know what we need to do to get our car to run.
Alrighty.
Okay, I'm going to look at you from behind now, Annie. 1 second, I'm coming back here to have a look at the plane of your swing. You hit it right where you were lined up to.
Did I?
Yep.
Okay, well, good to know.
That's good. So before we do the screenings, this is the game. It's not like a party trick, but I think it could be.
Yeah.
If we had some wine.
We're going to test you out.
So what I'm thinking, what I've seen in just those two swings, so I probably need a few more, is this is what I want our viewers to know, Annie, our viewers to know, that when we're swinging back, halfway back, the shaft can be anywhere from there to there. So a Matt Cooch is more here, halfway back. If you look at a Snedden, or you even look at and Keimer, they're much steeper here. Others are in here. So everyone's slightly different. So this is the range. So not everyone's in the middle vanilla. We might like to be, but that's not where we are.
I like chocolate better than
you. Like chocolate? Okay, so you are chocolate because...
Am I? Is that chocolate down that way?
No, chocolate is steeper.
Okay.
So I'm, just from what I saw in your swing, when you're halfway back, your shaft is a little steeper than in the middle. And the middle means between your shoulder and your hip sort of thing. So you're in the middle. So I'm assuming, and I hope this is right, that your wingspan is probably a little longer than your height. Otherwise, you're probably swinging too steep. So we're going to find that out.
You're going to measure that, aren't you?
I'm going to measure that. I'm going to measure your golfing height with your shoes on. I'm going to measure your wingspan.
Which is from fingertip to...
Longest finger to longest finger. The other thing I noticed in your swing was when you got to this position, you stayed on the same plane. So you didn't go up, or you didn't do a Sergio Garcia and go flatter. So you stayed on the same arc, nice and smooth. You didn't go there and then up or flatter. So I'm assuming your upper arm, the measurements we take are equal.
Good, I think.
Yeah, and I'm also assuming because of the way your ball, if we had you on flight scope, you swing into out quite a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you're an under golfer. So an under golfer means, so we talked about Lydia Ko, which is a really interesting example. Lydia Ko, when she was world's #1, she was an under golfer. Her hand was in this position. So when she was gripping, her hand was more under. She's then gone to some famous golf coaches who like the hand square on. What's happened to Lydia? She's gone off a little bit because now she can't get that in to out movement as much. So she's going against her natural biomechanics. I could be wrong, but that's what I noticed with her.
People tend to, if you just let someone go and swing a golf club, will they tend to swing what is best biomechanically for them, or like is that a natural thing for most people to do?
It's a very, very, very good question. That means I like that. I'm playing for time here, or playing for time.
Tell me if you're going to ask me these difficult questions.
I think that you'd be the same. If I get a really good player comes to me, they're off scratch or whatever, and they're playing really great, they're already scratch. I'm thinking they're doing what's biomechanically right for them, because there's been a lot of amateur golfers during the time who have become Australian amateur champions, been very good. I know one in particular when I was a state champion, and then she was told, not by me, that she had to change her swing, and the whole game went off. And she said to me, "What do you think, Dee?" And I go, "Well, hey, you're the Australian amateur champion, you play off a plus handicap, you've got to be doing a lot of things right." So I think, personally, I believe if you become good without the interference of some guru golf coach,
you're most likely
using your best. And it comes through trial and error, though. Like, I often say, I wish I had me which sounds egotistical.
Very egotistical.
I know, very egotistical.
I had me when I was
but I beat it out in the ground to find out what was working.
Which is what most people do.
And often I just went with what I then would try to do what was in favour, because I like the look of it, because we want to be pretty swings.
So what's this screening involved in?
Okay, so we're going to get your height. We're going to get where your hand should release. We probably can't do all the screenings. The one I would like to do would be your wingspan and your height and your forearm. And then I'll do a little screening just to see where you naturally pivot.
Okay.
And there's about another 4, but I think that will be enough just to see if we're on track.
Right. So
let's get your wingspan.
Put this down. We can.
So
you said I would be longer this way.
yeah, but the way you're swinging, so your height was 179, your wingspan's 180, so your shaft plane will be just a little bit above the middle. Yours is a little too much above the middle.
It's on the way back.
On the way back.
Not on the way down.
Yeah, on the way back. On the way down, it drops down.
I'm picking it up a bit.
So if you set up for us, you just set up and we'll just have a little look here. So swing back for me. So you're really good here. So when you're swinging here, you're fine. But where you're getting to, and you'll see it on the video, you're a little too steep here. So you're almost through your shoulder. I'm wanting it there.
Okay.
So the shaft can be anywhere from there to here.
Yeah.
Middle's about there.
And I'm a bit this way.
You're being a little bit that way.
So you can tell that from my wingspan
and my height.
To
yeah, and there's a formula, but that's just roughly, you're swinging as if your wingspan was probably about 4 centimetres longer, and it's not.
Okay, that's interesting.
Very interesting.
Isn't it? Anything else that you can tell from those measurements that I should be doing that I'm not?
They're very magical, but not that magical. No. That just gives one thing. It also can tell, you just set up for a second for me with the club. So what we can tell from that, just give me this, your hand. Look, you're far too bent over. You need to come up a little bit, which would then flatten out your swing plane.
Okay.
So
it's good, isn't it?
It's very good. Little tricks.
Stand up.
So you're standing up a little bit because you were bent over too much.
And
so
then that will automatically
make you too steep. Yeah, so that'll just flatten it out for you. So when you get this happening, it just starts happening more naturally. Like everyone goes, oh, feels weird, but goes okay. Well, is that pretty good if it feels weird and goes okay?
Anytime you make a change, it feels weird,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
yeah, exactly.
Very good.
So there we are there. Now let's just see if I'm right on this bit. Make a little fist. Make sure to just turn. Okay, so. That's really, your wingspan is pretty similar. I mean, you shouldn't be going up. If anything, you could go even a little flatter.
Right.
But it's pretty, there was 1 centimetre difference.
Okay.
So you're pretty well the same plane. Once you get here, you stay on the same.
Yep.
You could go a little flatter, which means you're going to come down a little flatter as well, which you do nicely.
I don't want to come any more flatter.
No, you do not. You do not.
So how do you overcome that? If you're saying
I don't know how you overcome it. I just do what's happening.
You're saying I should come down more flatter.
I'm saying here you go. You're not. I wouldn't probably. You just set up. The only thing I'd change is having you stand a little taller.
Yep.
Do what you've been doing. Here I'd have you just a little flatter, which is happening because you're standing taller. I wouldn't really interfere with the rest of your back.
But if you've changed my posture and that's going to take care of it, that's great.
And this will happen. I see in all the people what the measurement here is, people just do that automatically.
Yeah.
Unless they're being told by some guru not to. Okay, so I'm thinking, yep, I wouldn't interfere with that.
So all I've done is stand a little bit taller and that's going to fix that back. So that's
and a little bit of awareness if that's what you want to do as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The next thing I want you to do is put this golf club on your thighs like this and keep them there. And I just want you to rotate do your backswing and keeping it on your thighs. Did I explain that? Okay, good. And again. Interesting. So, shame you didn't come and see me when you were younger.
Say that.
I didn't know this then. You've got, according to what you're doing, you're a little bit more centered. So when you swing, and we'll see it on the video, you swing over here a little too much.
So sway it a bit.
You sway it a little bit. I'd have you keeping a little bit more centered. So your biomechanics are saying you're a little bit more centered.
I should be more centered, yeah.
Yeah, rather than swaying off. Yeah,
I did go through a phase of swaying a bit, and I've sort of tried to fix it, but obviously there's still a bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, so set up again for me now. So now you're going to stand a little taller and you're going to feel like you're just staying more centred, more centred. Beautiful. So you're not swaying over there. So a good little exercise for you to do, Annie, would be just to have that, your feet that far apart, really close together, and just do a couple of swings feeling that.
I've got a good tip on anti-sway.
Oh, good. You should be very good at it. Let's get that anti-sway tip going. But remember, for some people, this movement really helps. Like, I remember when Faldo used to do that many years ago. Oh, my God, I loved that. I wanted that. And I'd try to get it happening, and I lost distance.
So basically, if you swing according to your height and your wingspan and your biomechanics, you're going to get a much better result, and you're going to get your best golf that you can possibly get.
Without hurting yourself. Without damaging yourself.
More easily.
And believe it or not, less practice. So you can go and practice what's important, which is your short game. And they're things you have control over, you know, your setup.
Do you screen every new golfer that comes to you? I
don't always get them. If I've only got a half an hour with them, I can't do all the screenings. But I would go through something similar that
And you sound like you can look at them without really screening and get a bit of a sense anyway.
No.
Didn't you do that with me though?
No, I saw you swing and I guessed at what you were doing, but you didn't follow. So with what I saw you doing, you were swinging too steep. But that is not too steep if your wingspan would have been much more. It would have been perfect.
So that's what's so important to know.
It's important to know what you're... And, you know, that little movement on your lower half.
Biomechanics helps you
as a coach.
Them a lot more easily.
And there's a lot of information that's going on behind the scenes that's all biomechanical, but the student just needs to have enough trust in you to know, well, they know the formula, this is where I need to be. Give them a couple of drills to get that happening.
Do all golf coaches know this biomechanics stuff, do you?
No.
What percentage of golf pros?
Well, when I sounding very egotistical, there were 30 of us did the course a couple of years ago, only 5 of us got through the level 2. And it was quite an expensive course, but I think, I could get into trouble for saying this, but I think all golf coaches should understand a bit more, even just basic stuff on biomechanics, so that we don't teach the same method.
The same method to everybody, no matter
and that's the problem. That's the problem, that people are teaching everyone the same method, and then, you know, Mary over there or Jim over there goes, oh, I want to swing like that player, and I go, you're not that person.
Isn't that a classic reason why you shouldn't listen to your friends as well? Because your friends will say, oh, my coach told me that, so you should try that too. Definitely.
And we're just saying biomechanics, but then we have other things like any injuries people may have, flexibility. There's so much that you need to know before you go and just try and be someone, you know.
So can people come to you and get a screening and get some lessons?
If you come to me for a lesson, you're getting a screening. I will not open my mouth, and people get upset with me now, but I go, if we're out, people say, what could I be doing? I go, I don't know until I screen you.
And if they don't live in the Sydney area, Dee, could this be done with a video? Could they send a video?
Yeah,
okay,
because I have videos that I can send them on how to do all these measurements, where to take it, and then they send the videos back. I get their bioswing screening. Then we go from there.
You can get some online lessons from
Absolutely.
Dee. So you can get access
from
to
ProGolfGals. ProGolfGals can help you out anyway. So just see what happens. Just feel it's a little flatter halfway back, if that makes sense. That's all you're thinking, nothing else.
Okay.
Not bad for a change, is it? First
feel
shot.
Much different, I must admit, which is good.
It probably won't, because you're a good player, Annie. So all we've really done is move you maybe a couple of degrees.
And
that's
that
all.
Should mostly happen by
the posture.
Slight change in posture.
Yeah, I probably would even get you just to do a few little swings, just looking in a mirror, feeling where it is. Yeah, that's perfect. Very good.
That was quite good.
Yeah.
Quite natural.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's what the top... I know. Mike Adams said once he gave, I forget the famous person he gave a lesson to, and he said it wasn't really a lesson, he just screened him and said, you know, when you were the number 2 player in the world, the number 1 player in the world, what were you doing? And he said, I was doing this when I was the number 1 player. My shaft was here and I was doing that. And he said to him, why don't you just go back and do that? And he's one of the few guys that's thanked Mike Adams, and all he did was just give him his biomechanics.
Yeah, wow.
Which is
Wouldn't it
interesting.
be nice if golf was simplified down a bit?
Do you know how many times Tiger Woods has gone through a grip change with his right hand? It is phenomenal.
Really?
He goes to a different coach,
Right.
and they have a preference, so they give it. And your Tiger Woods, you're going to get away with it. But I wonder, I don't know, but I wonder if he would have stuck with what was right for him if he would have injured himself as much. It's kind of interesting, you know, some of the swings are a bit, but that's why we can't have all people doing the same things. Got to, you know, and you just got to hope you've got the biomechanics that look pretty.
Yeah, or that work well, more importantly. Well, that felt nice, Dee.
Felt nice.
Oh, she's a good coach.
And that's only after 2 swings. That was fun. I hope our viewers really find that helpful. And even, you know, like, we may not be able to see you, but if you can even just say to your own coach, hey, what plane should I be swinging on?
Yeah, or take your measurements with your golf shoes on and your wingspan, send them in to Dee and go from there. She might revolutionise your game.
Just
the easy way.
That was great. Loved it. We've got to get in before this storm hits.
There's a storm coming.
Bye for now.
Bye.